Okay, welcome to another episode of G4 Guitar TV. What we're going to do here is, today we're just going to open it up to question time. We're going to talk about all different things to do with guitar teaching, business and so forth. I'm not going to come in with an agenda. I'm simply going to throw it to the guys and see what they've got to come up with. And what we did in the last episode at the end, I'm going to actually do that at the start this time. I'm going to go through each of the members of the group and just ask everybody who's here one at a time what kind of challenges they have or what's their main challenge. And I'll just write them down. I'm not going to answer the challenges as we go. I'm just going to write them down to start with, and then we'll come back and we'll pick them out and see if we can get some advice, not just coming from me, but from you guys as well, just to create a bit more of a kind of a round table effect. So I'm, of course, always going to be throwing up advice and coming back on it, but I want you guys here to also be sort of sharing your experiences as well, just so we're getting a cross-section and it's not just coming from myself. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll just go from left to right. Now, Ben, you were here this morning, so perhaps if you could give me maybe even a different challenge that you have, starting with Ben Halkidi, because he's on my
Always ready.
Excellent.
Morning, Jamie, by the way.
So what's a challenge that you have at the moment, you think? This morning you talked about intros, but let's talk about something else.
Yeah.
Something different.
Intros, I think, is my biggest problem that I need to work on fixing. This one, I think I could probably just fix just by deciding to fix it. But I need to systemize the payment method, because repeatedly, I think I've only had about 10% at the most pay within 48 hours. And I've had to text or email or ring. And sometimes I use the text. If the text, I think text the first one, because it seems such a minor intrusion to just say, oh, I just noticed you haven't received the payment, just thought I'd remind you that will time out within, what, 4 hours, 8 hours, whatever.
Yeah.
And that just feels really awkward, so I'm having real trouble just making sure. I don't know if it's I'm making a mistake in the email that means, or in the phone call maybe, that means they don't pay within that 48 hours, maybe I'm not making it sound important enough, or maybe I'll just be more direct and say, look, you haven't paid, could you pay now please, and not worry about saying that, because people understand they have to pay for a service.
Yeah, great. So what you're really saying here is that you want something easier, an easier system for collecting the payment, instead of going through the usual thing that you're having to follow up when someone doesn't pay on time.
Yeah.
Really. Alright, I got him. Alright, so I'll go to Ben Messenger now. If you could give me what you consider to be your biggest current challenge.
It's probably not current, it's more it's going to happen. I've hired a small area for doing the group lessons, so I'm going out of here and moving it to a local library. That's starting September. And I'm getting a feel for groups already, but I've got the usual thing where still in that one-to-one mindset where I've got people, even on the as beginners, at different levels, and that's going to become an issue where I'm thinking, how the hell do I get these people on a level where I can get 2 or 3, because I've got 2 or 3 guys that are all adults, sort of late 50s, early 60s, same sort of era, same sort of music they're into. These guys are going to work well together, but they're all at different levels of experience. You know, one guy's been playing for 40 years but has got really bad technique. One guy's been playing for 5 minutes and is a complete beginner but picked things up really well. Do you see what I mean?
I do, yeah, I can see.
It's going to be. I'm going to have to do it, because come September, I can't afford to do intro lessons at this room I'm hiring. Intro lessons are going to be at home, if you see what I mean. I need to utilise that room to the full. It's there for group lessons and group lessons only. So I've got it's a good incentive. I've got to get these people together in some sort of cohesive group, ready for September. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And it's good because you're really seeing it in action here. You're seeing a group of guys here, guitar teachers, who all have different challenges. They're all at different places. So just the process of what I'm doing here today will kind of help you a little bit. I won't say exactly what I'm doing here, but to give you a little bit of a clue, because it is a little bit different here. But we'll come back to that, and I'll definitely give you some ideas and see what some of the other guys are doing as well. Okay, so I'll go to David now. David, so what would you consider your biggest current challenge for your business now?
There's always something, but things just seem to be going really well, to be honest. But I'm really focusing on how to teach it. I'm really getting to grips. I don't lose students. You know, people love coming here, so I think that's a bonus. Obviously, I still feel like I have a long way to go with group teaching. I'm always trying to improve myself. But I would say I want to try to work on sales, you know, and just try and get my percentage a little higher within sales. So that's been a lot of focus for me recently. So I'd say challenge maybe getting my sales bookings a bit better.
Fantastic. Okay, excellent. Because the thing here is, the question is not what do you feel you're failing at, or what do you think is a big problem for you. The question of what's your current biggest challenge, you could be doing really well at everything. It's really what you think could do with a bit more improvement. So so that's great. Your answer is good. I just wanted to clarify that so you guys know that just because you say, hey, you know, I'd like to work on sales, it doesn't mean that you're failing at sales. It just means, okay, that's the thing that I can see the link in the chain which could do with the most improvement at the moment. All right, cool. So Emma, for you, because you're part of the coaching team, if you like, what do you see as one of the biggest challenges going around with the guys? What would you sort of throw up?
I actually want to mention a little challenge that I've had, which is basically taking on too much and then not doing any of it properly. And this is a long time challenge for me, as you know. And it actually took being injured and not being able to do anything for me to have to think about it and have to reassess what I'm doing. And I would like to help these guys not get to that point where they have to say no to everything because they've said yes to everything for so long. And it's been a really interesting week, last week for me, basically being told that I wasn't even allowed to be on a computer because that was taking energy away from healing. And it was very frustrating, but it's made me make some tough decisions that I know I had to make, and will be better for me in the long run, and better for my business, and better for my family, and better for everything. So, yeah, I think that's something that would be interesting to talk about.
Great, excellent, and it's something that if there's anyone here who hasn't experienced this, then you're a freak of nature, because I think we all have experienced that over, extending ourselves, because that's really what success is. In my opinion, it's about pushing yourself, seeing how far you can go, and then reeling it all back in, and that's. It's almost like breathing, sort of going in and out. And I do it. I pile up my plate, and I've done this with the networkers. I take on lots of clients. I focus on, sales and bringing in more and more clients and building up the school. And then I go, oh, that's enough. I just want to concentrate on what I've got now. I'm not looking for any new teachers, not looking for new members. I just want to really work with these guys and make sure that they're firing on all cylinders before I take on any more. So I won't dwell, but that's, I totally get where you're coming from, Emma, so we'll come back to that. Okay, moving on to Jay. What would you consider, Jay, is your biggest current challenge?
Hi everyone. My current challenge is, I guess it's summer holidays is coming in. And that means my son will be, will be at home most of the time, so I have to look after him, and that will mean that I won't be able to go out flying. In our situation, us being, foreigners in this country, we don't have, any relatives whom we can leave our children to while we're away when we're working. There may be some friends who, who can. Who are off from their work, who can look after, but it's not always the case, and more often it's the other way around. And also, right now I am, from my statistics, I am 6 inquiries behind. 6 inquiries behind. So, I'm not getting a lot of inquiries anymore, though I am really diligent going out, doing the flyering every day when I'm not attending a meeting. And also, lately I've been gaining and losing some students, so I'm not really moving forward. I'm just stagnant. Yeah, so that's my current challenges at the moment. Yeah, that's all I think I can think about.
Okay, good. So let's just sort of narrow it down to the biggest challenge. Would you say the biggest challenge is marketing or sales? Which would be the...
I would say both, yeah, because right now I'm still not really good at sales, although I'm converting some. But I would say that my sales need a lot of improvement. So yeah, my challenges are both marketing and sales at the moment.
Okay, all right. So I'll put marketing and sales. Just tie them in together. Okay, great. Thanks, Jay. Michael Essery, what would you consider to be your biggest current challenge?
For me, it's got to be the flyers. I can't stand doing it. Especially when winter comes along. Yeah, getting out there in the morning and delivering flyers is the last thing I want to do. So I tend to make up excuses by like saying, "Oh, I'm going to go through my list of inquiries today and ring everybody again," or oh, I've got all this accounting and admin I've got to do, and yeah, so that's my biggest thing. I'm slack on that.
Okay, excellent. So you've got procrastination disease when it comes to doing flyers. All right, we've got a remedy for that. We'll work that one out in a minute. Shane, what would you consider to be your biggest current challenge?
My biggest challenge is the same challenge that I've had my whole career, and that's sales. But I think I'm working on that with the Monday sessions, and I've been getting better at it. I just have a really hard time interacting on the phone with people, but like I said, I'm working on it and have a minor success rate. So.
Excellent. And your mother is a fantastic salesperson, right?
She is, yeah.
So.
And it's sort of only been a recent discovery for her as well. She has no training or anything. She was a X-ray technician for a while, not making very much money, and then all of a sudden she decided to sell the equipment instead.
Yeah.
And paying her bucket load of cash. She's really good at it.
Yeah, look, and some people have just got the personality, and it can sometimes be the industry as well. Some industries, you've got the right personality for that industry. People just naturally feel comfortable around you or trust you. So yeah. Cool. Okay, so there we've got 7 things that we've covered. So we're talking about, first of all, systemizing. So what I want to do is I'm going to pick one from each of them, and anyone can put their hand up. But I want to grab a solution from you guys for each of them. So the first thing was systemizing payment system, coming up with something a bit simpler. I think it was Ben that said that. So does anyone have a way that to improve that? How can it become an easier operation where he's not having to follow up and chase people for money? Anybody got a clue? Okay, Emma. I know Emma's got the answer, so I'm going to go to Emma. Okay.
We spoke about this not last week, the week before. I think people find it more important if they actually get an invoice. And we spoke about this with Xero and QuickBooks, I think. If people get an invoice, I mean on Xero in particular, you can send them an invoice and you can set it up so it will send a reminder after a certain amount of time. People are more likely to pay on an invoice than on an email that says please pay. So yeah, and then I was speaking to one of the teachers this week. I think it was on the Facebook group, and you just follow up with a warning and say, after 48 hours I can't hold it anymore, and follow through basically. But like David said, ring and have a chat and build up the relationship and build up the connection. And even if they don't book now, they will come back to you when they're ready to book and ready to pay, more importantly, because they've had that connection with you and that relationship with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Excellent. So, Ben, what was your response?
Yeah, just a quick one. Without realising that I've done that exact same thing this week, whereas I had somebody who was saying, "Oh, we're on holiday for next week," and then he goes away and stays with his dad for 4 weeks over August. So I said, "Well, listen, if you want to book in for whatever it was, the first week in September, you need to pay me PayPal now. If not, we'll leave it till then." Rather than my old self would be chasing and chasing and chasing, whereas in the one conversation I got all the objections out and said, "Listen, if you want to book the slot, that's fine, but you still have to pay. If not, I'll call you again in September."
Yeah, fantastic.
I was quite straight, not firm, but quite straight. This is how I do it. It's up to you. I'm not going to phone you back every couple of days or every week and see, are you going to pay yet?
Yeah.
But if you say that and they don't pay, but they sounded entirely eager on the phone, would you chase them up, or would you just say, well, they missed it?
With them in particular, with that particular example, Ben, because I'm not going to see until September anyway. I know in my head, I'm confident enough to know I'll have more students by then anyway. So if they book it in September or not, it's not actually a big deal. They're not ready now, whatever the reason might be. They aren't ready now, so I don't worry about it.
I think the main reason this is feeling like such a problem is because over the weekend it was definitely exacerbated by the fact that none of my emails went out at all, and I didn't get any failed delivery notifications or anything.
Wow.
So that was a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go back through them and see if they all pay this time when they get the email.
Yeah.
So I'll give you what I recommend. My recommendation from many, many years of selling and being in business is to get the money there and then. Get them to pay on the spot.
Now, on the Facebook.
Right there, get whatever it takes. Like the subscription to PayPal is a little bit different because people don't pay PayPal instantly. They've got to go to the file, get your link, go to the website and do it. And it's possible, you can walk them through it. But nothing beats having the payment over the phone with a credit card. So I would probably look into that for each of you is accepting credit card payment over the phone. Now there are many, I don't do it, but we used to do it. Emma used to do it all the time. And Emma will recall that we got to a point where I said to Emma, don't take the booking unless they pay with a credit card over the phone. And that was the rule. So if someone said, "Oh, can I pay tomorrow?" No, sorry, you need to do it with credit card. We did it in a nice way, of course, but we, in Emma's normal, convincing, charming way. But very rarely did Emma fail to get the credit card on the phone, because if they're saying, "Yes, I'm up for it, let's do it," to then go to the next step and ask for the credit card, and then to say, oh, do I have to pay now? Well, yeah, you just said you're going to do it, so let's do it. So it's, even though I'm sort of saying it in that way, obviously we don't say that to the customer, but it's when they're ready to go and they've decided they're doing it, they do it. When you buy an Apple product or you buy an Amazon product or you go to a shop, once you decide you want it, you give them the credit card and you pay for it. That's it. And it's the same with your guitar lessons. So if you can do that, then you're going to save a lot of time, because I know in these cases sometimes you're emailing 2 or 3 times, follow-up call. Again, you're going through the whole sales process again. Each time that you've got to chase up that money, you're repeating the sales process. So why do it again? When you can do it once.
Yeah,
that's my philosophy.
David, can I ask a question?
Yes, go for it, Shane.
Yeah. Because I was sort of under the impression that it's the goal is to get them on a PayPal subscription, which for me has been working fantastically. So do you think it's harder to get them to switch to PayPal subscription because I found that my first few students, I kind of was a bit too lax with them, and I let them pay me with cash, and then it's harder to convert them to the PayPal subscription. So if I get them to pay for the 5 weeks on PayPal, then they never have any problem just continuing with the subscription. So I'm wondering if
that's true.
taking
I think that's a good point. I think if you can get them to pay on PayPal the first time, now they're familiar with PayPal, so you know you're not going to have that problem. Week 4, week 5. I think that's a great point. I'm not sure what PayPal have going and what kind of options they have, but really what you want to do is not. I don't know how you handle phone calls, but what you want to say to them is, okay, we don't hold times. Just say, look, we're very busy. We're not able to hold times. So it's really a kind of a first in, first served. I know you want this time of 7 o'clock on a Tuesday. Can I get you to go to PayPal now and make the payment? That way I can lock it in. And if they say, oh, I'm not in front of the computer now, I won't be able to do it until 7 o'clock tonight, then go, that's fine. I understand. Look, let me hold it till 7 o'clock tonight, and then but I can't hold beyond that. I just need you to know that that's the time, the only time I can give you, because we don't normally hold times. And that way you've sort of locked them into something that's fairly soon, even if you can't get them to do it there and then. And let's face it, if not now, in a year from now, very few people will be very far away from a computer. Most people these days are in front of some computer somewhere for a large portion of the day. So it's not that hard for them to get online and make a payment. So, and it's actually going to be easier if you're there and you can walk them through it, and you can just say, look, I'm just popping you a link right now, straight through to you, and on your email, just click on that link. It'll take you straight through to the payment. I'll walk you through it, just if you have any problems. And that way you're there and you actually take them through it. The same as if they were in a shop and they're walking with the shop assistant to the counter, and processing the sale and getting the receipt and whatever. And look, it's going more and more this way, and things are getting more and more easy for people to do and pay. So there's really no excuse. In my book, I think if people are delaying, then there's an objection. Especially if you say, let's say you book it in today at lunchtime, and they say, well, look, send me the email and I'll look at it, and it doesn't happen. They don't get it done by 7 o'clock that night, and the next day you're having to chase them up. Then there's an objection there, almost always. So,
I like the idea of holding it only until tonight.
Yeah, reel it in. How long until you can do it? Can you do it in an hour? Can you do it in 2 hours? When can you do it? And then lock it. They've agreed to that. There's actually been, again, I'm always quoting studies, but I like to, because I like to know the facts, and that is that people will, once they agree to something, they're much more likely to follow through on it, in the sense that when they say it. So if you ask them, when can you do this, and they say, oh, well, when will you be in front of the computer, and they say, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever, then that's them saying to you, I can do it at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. So they feel kind of a sense of commitment to that. Rather than you saying to them, the opposite is, can you do it at 7 o'clock tonight? And they just say yes. It's not quite the same if you ask them, when can you do it? It's a little bit of a difference there. Okay, that's great. All right, so the goal for all of you, I would say, is to try and get the students to pay at the time of the call.
That sounds great.
Yeah, preferably.
One question with that, David.
Yep.
One question there. On the credit card, you were saying, obviously, ideally, I'm going to stick with the PayPal because, as Shane says, it makes it easier for conversions. But with the credit card, can you, when you're saying get the credit card details on the phone, can I then process that through PayPal, or do I need a different system for that?
I don't know if you can do it through PayPal. There might be a facility where you can get a PayPal credit card. There's a couple of things I've seen floating around recently. And it's going to all change very soon as well, because you've got things like Bitcoin coming online with BitPay and so forth, which are creating competition and pressure on companies like PayPal. It's not even that Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin will take off, but it's not even that Bitcoin will necessarily take off. It's just that the pressure that Bitcoin puts on other services such as PayPal causes PayPal to start lifting their socks. Where they've had a monopoly, it's like the banks. Wherever there's a monopoly, they tend to just cruise along. But once you start getting competition moving in, you better lift your game, or you're going to be out of the game.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, is there like a procedure for taking credit card info, like some sort of safety procedure, or do you keep the info, or what? I don't really know what the etiquette is there. You know what I mean?
Can you get them down to your studio? Because PayPal do like a little credit card reader machine, but they have to be there in person. Have you seen those? Like a little mini.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I think they're about £50 or £60, something like that, from PayPal.
Yeah.
I think they're normally 100.
Involves them being there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, because it's interesting because if you can, it's really, with shops and a lot of businesses, as you know, you can just give your credit card over the phone. So I guess this is just a PayPal thing where they're trying to be more secure. So look, I'll have a bit of a look around. If any of you guys see anything and more ideas we can get, but the goal is to get people to pay over the phone and really to get them to pay via PayPal because they're going on a subscription, and by doing this, it's the better way to do it. Okay, cool. So that's done. So looking at the next thing, which was grouping. So this is something that there is a fair bit of information and literature on this already. So
I'm aware it's covered a million times already. I think just because it's the next thing in my mind. You know what I mean? But I'm aware if I look on the old chats, I'm sure there's tons of stuff on there. Just I've not looked at it yet.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to jump over it because I did ask you that question and you answered it honestly, which is what I was looking for. So I do want to touch on it, but what I'm wanting to do more is get other people's input rather than just my input. So can anyone give some kind of tip or suggestion or something that they've learned through group teaching that they could tell Ben? I'm sure you've all got something that you could offer.
Can I just ask something about that? I typed it down earlier.
Yep.
Where was it? Yeah, when we're grouping, we're matching by ability. I've basically been reading that as how quickly they learn rather than how far through the skills they are. So obviously you don't want a huge gulf between them. But if one person's had 2 lessons on a skill that someone else has had no lessons on, I'm more worried about how quickly they'll learn rather than what level they're currently at. Is that right, or should it be the other way around?
Look, it's very difficult to narrow it down to even one thing. I take a lot of things into consideration. I look at their personalities, not just the levels they're at. Really what I'm looking for is as much criteria as possible. So it doesn't matter to me necessarily that they're at the same level. They need to be on the same checklist. They can't be on different checklists. But as long as they're on the same checklist, then that's fine. One could be almost finished the checklist, and one could just be beginning the checklist. It still doesn't matter to me. And I would bring them together, and then I would get the one who has sort of almost finished the checklist to help the one who's just beginning. But at the same time, I would make sure that that particular student who's almost finished the checklist is very challenged, that they're not just sort of hanging around waiting for the other one to catch up. And if I can see, I'm going to push them to finish that checklist very quickly and then say, all right, bang, you can go on to the next checklist. It means I'm going to have to promote you to the next group. Or if you want to hang in with this group, you can start working on the next checklist. And there were times, by the way, where I wanted to keep the group together or the guys wanted to stay together, and I did have 2 checklists going. So it's not impossible. It's just that where possible, when you actually bringing in the group together, you want to try and have them all on the same checklist. But as they develop, if one develops faster than another and they move to the next one, that's okay as well. You can bring in that extra checklist. And look, that particular student often feels very kind of proud that they're the one who's on the next checklist while all the others are still working on the other checklist. But it's all the kind of the group scenario. Let's bring them together. Let's get them working together as a team and helping each other and keeping them all challenged. It's what's going to really make your groups work the best of all, as I discovered, is personalities. It's really about getting the right personalities together. If you can get a group of guys that really get along, and you just think about here, we've got a group of guys here, you guys all get along, that we're all sort of on the same page, and we're all, sort of helping each other and sort of cheering each other on. That's what you need. You're not that concerned, and there's not one of you here, I hope, is not that concerned about, the next guy being better than you or being ahead of you. That's inspiring for you, and vice versa. You're not worried about the other guy not being up to where you're at, and oh, here we go, we have to go over this grouping stuff again. I've been over this 100 times, just because Ben asked it, do we have to go over it again? At the same time, you need to hear this stuff again, even if you've heard it 100 times. You need to keep hearing it, because you need to really have it reinforced, but two is that you sometimes will forget in your own group teaching. You're not aware of these little things, and you're concentrating on, say, things like where the students are at levels, and you're really focusing on that, and you think, hang on, Dave just talked about last night, attitude and personalities. Maybe I need to look at that a little bit more, because I can guarantee you, no matter where you're at, your groups are always going to be improving. There's always room for improvement. You're going to have some good groups, some not so good groups, and you can see, okay, this group that I'm struggling with, maybe I'm missing something here. What's the thing? And so go back and have a look and think about the personalities in that group. Are they the wrong mix, or is there something that I need to do? So I'll leave it there, Ben, but hopefully that's giving you something to think about.
Yeah,
both Ben and Ben.
Definitely.
Okay, so moving on to sales. This is, I won't dwell on this one either, simply because this is kind of Emma's domain, but it's good if I add something here just to throw into the mix of what Emma's already been offering. One of the things with sales that has always been important to me is that when you're selling something, always sell from the right place. And when I say the right place, understand that what you're doing is helping the person on the other side. It's not about getting the sale. It's not about closing the sale and getting the money. It's about knowing in your heart of hearts that you're going to help this person get to a better place. And with what we're doing, what you guys are doing as guitar teachers, you have someone who's on the other end of the phone, and for some reason they've decided that guitar is, they have an emotional attachment. It's really important to remember that. There's something about guitar that's inspired them, and they want to be able to express themselves or connect with the guitar or whatever. And so they're turning to you, and it's quite an emotional experience. And if you can sort of say, well, look, I can really help you get to where you want to get with guitar. It's not just about where to put your fingers. It's not just about the way to sit. It's it's believing in yourself and knowing that by learning guitar, then you're going to prove to yourself that you're actually, you can achieve it. It's that sense of achievement. We all know that. We all know those extra things that come with learning music. I don't think any of us took up guitar, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm quite willing to put your hand up if I'm wrong, that took up guitar for the money. Did anyone here actually take up guitar for the money? Were you in it for the money? No? Okay, good, we're in agreement. So it's the same with your students. They're not in it for the money. Some might be in for the fame and the girls and the boys even, but in reality, they're doing it because it makes them feel good. There's something about guitar that they're passionate about, and that's where, get away from the money. How much are the lessons? How much time do I get? How long is it going to take to learn? It doesn't matter. Those things don't matter, even though you will do your best to answer them. They don't really matter. What matters is how you're going to feel when you're learning guitar. That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to understand where somebody's at. Now, can anyone give, besides you, Emma, because you give lots of great advice on the Mondays, can anybody else give a sales tip or even a sales story, an experience that they've had, something that they learned recently from selling? Yeah, Ben? Yep.
Yeah, just that, the confidence, I think. The confidence to say what you're going to say. We've all got a script, we've all done it, we all, second guess ourselves and think, well, if I say this, will they say this? Or we already have. I certainly did it for weeks. I had a preconceived idea in my head of what the objections would be before they even came, and consequently, they came up. So what I try to do as much as I can now is, without bombarding the person with too much information, is I tend to cut off 2 or 3 objections before they've even asked them, so I know that realistically there's only one way, there's 2 ways they can go, either yes or know for something that I haven't covered. But I try and get that boxed off, within my questioning, so it doesn't become an issue.
Yeah. Excellent. And knowing how you're going to answer certain questions is really the key to it. Is okay, how am I going to answer this question? And most of the time, I always bring it back to the same place. The whole kind of thing about selling, and Emma and I have talked about this before, is you're leading the customer, you're leading the student to a certain place. Don't let them lead you. Don't let them take you off track. Because it's not that you're trying to manipulate them. They want to learn guitar. That's why they're calling us. That's something that they want to do, and we know how to get that done. And by getting off track, we're not getting there. And it's really a lead up to the lessons. If I can't lead you into actually signing up, then I'm probably not going to be able to help you learn guitar. So this is the first test for you, is to get them from inquiring to actually paying on the PayPal, on the phone, all in one call. Do all that in 5 to 10 minutes, and you've probably got a very good student on your hands, because they're going to keep following you. And I know that with you guys, across the network, those of you who follow the things that I sort of show you to do, you have more success. You get there faster because you follow the steps. And it's not because it serves me and I'm trying to manipulate you. It does help me. It's part of my plan, but it's not. But I'm all about the win-win. I'm taking you to somewhere that I know will work, and I try very hard not to offer advice based on just ideas or opinions. I try and take it from things that I know that actually work. And that's why I read so much and research so much, is because I want to know that the things that I'm recommending to you and things I do are not just things that happened for me that I was just lucky. That it was actually, there are systems, there are ways of doing things, there are ways of talking to people, presenting to people. And that's where, Emma and I are very similar in the way that we sell our lessons. Emma's got a slightly different take on some things, but we follow things that are pretty much the same, and that's why we end up at the same place, is because we follow a very similar procedure. So if you follow a certain formula, a certain procedure, you should get a certain result each and every time. Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to go now to focusing. This is a great topic, and I'm glad Emma raised it, because it's something that we probably haven't talked a lot about, certainly not enough about. So again, I'll throw it back to anyone who can anyone give me some advice here, some tips on how to focus? What would,
A very itemized diary might help. As long as you know precisely what you're doing, it should stop you taking on too much. And if you make sure that you always have a few times for yourself, then you can say, oh, this is an incredible opportunity, I can put that in my time for myself bit, or no, this isn't worth it, I need to have my own time.
Yep. Okay, so have a diary is what you're saying, and write down what you're going to do when you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So why don't we just sort of see if we can get a tip out of each of you, because we all do it. We all organise our schedules in one way or another, and we have things that work and things that don't work. So I'll just go across. So Ben Messenger, what tip would you give to help people get more organised? Because as teachers, this is what you're doing, so you should all have advice that you can offer.
Yeah, I tend to have set times for things. The way I've got an odd, it's not OCD, but something weird. I'll give you an example. I go to the gym first thing. If, for whatever reason, either I've been lazy, I'm not got out of bed, or whatever, or I've got something on, if I can't get to the gym by sort of 9 o'clock, in my head, gym time's gone, and it's too late. Even though I might have all day to do it, I know in my head it won't happen, because I've got other stuff to do, and that time's gone now. So I try, and I've done it with the flyers, go to the gym, get back from the gym, hour, 2 hours of flyers, bit of practice, and then work on, teaching and whatever else. I found that works, and sort of making yourself, sometimes just getting up and doing it. The number of times I've just got up, put my bag on the shoulder, got out the door, got in the car, before I know it, I've done 2 hours of flying, I've done, 500, 600 flyers, and I'm back home.
Yep.
And I look at my watch and go, oh, actually, it's not took me that long after all. Whereas if I sat around and thought, I'll have another cup of tea or I'll just watch this bit of TV, before you know it, the time's gone and it doesn't happen.
Yep.
So try
So
set a time for things, definitely.
Okay, and that's fantastic, because what you're really doing is making appointments with yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's critical, is because think about your students. If you make appointments with your students to have lessons, what would happen if you weren't there? You know, David knows this because I did it to him today. I wasn't there. What would happen? And David knows that, you know, I honestly, you know, mixed it up. I made a mistake. I thought it was Sydney time. He thought it was UK, or he said it was UK time, which it was. He put it in his email. That was my mistake. But what if I did that all the time? What if I was constantly, and that was simply a mistake, you know, and people are forgiving, and you should be forgiving of yourself as well. But when you know that you have an appointment at a certain time and you don't turn up, that appointment, your students will soon disappear. And it's the same with yourself, is you're letting yourself down. If you're making appointments with yourself, don't let yourself down. It's better to make that 9 o'clock appointment for your gym, go to the gym, come back even if you come back early because you know you've got a busy day, go to the gym, put in 10 minutes and say, sorry, Jim, but today I've got a really heavy schedule. I wanted to come down and let you know. I wanted to just put in 10 minutes, but today I have to go. Think of it like a relationship with yourself and treat it that way, so that each and every appointment, and it's the same when you put things on your to-do list, do them, or don't put them on your to-do list in the first place, because again, you're letting yourself down, and each time that you do that, you're constantly letting yourself down. And I think what Emma sort of alluded to before is that, you know, learn to say no, and you need to say no sometimes, because otherwise you're bumping out your own appointments, your appointments with yourself. You're bumping those off to say yes to somebody else. Somebody says, hey, you know, come and have a coffee, you know, and you know you've got an 11 o'clock appointment at the gym. You think, oh yeah, stuff it, I won't go to the gym. We'll go and have a coffee and a donut instead because Mary asked me to go. So now, hang on, I've got an appointment with myself at 11 o'clock. Really sorry, Mary, I can't go for that coffee and donut. How about we do it next week? You know, I'll pencil it in for next week. This week I can't do it because I've got, you know, I'm booked in. So think about yourself and treat yourself in the same way. Make appointments with yourself and stick to those appointments. And then let other people know. Just say, I'll just check my diary. Actually, no, I can't do that today. I can't do it tomorrow, whatever. And then book them in. Because you don't actually have to say no that often when you've got a schedule, because people come to know your schedule. Your friends come to know your schedule. People just know, say, oh, well, you know, there's no point asking Emma to, you know, come out, you know, in the mornings because that's when she trains. You know, we know she does that every day, and so we're not going to bother asking her to come. So people get to know your own schedule and your appointments with yourself. So at the end of the day, you only have yourself to blame, and we know that. So if you're finding that your schedule is overbooked, taking on too much, it's because, yeah, you're not booking it in and you're not being true to yourself, so to speak. Brilliant. Okay, so I'll go to David. David, what sort of advice would you give to someone? I'm a guitar student. I'm saying, hey, I'm really disorganized. You know, I'm not getting my practice done. What advice would you give me to help me?
Schedule. Well, obviously the practice schedule where we discuss. I discuss like the times and the days with the pupil, and we work out times, and I get them to photocopy the practice schedule and maybe stick it on the wall, or if it's a kid, they stick it on the fridge. Yeah, and it's the same with me, that every day I have a set schedule where I do different stuff. One Monday is like accounts, and then Tuesday is flyers, Friday flyers. So each week just becomes a routine. So just creating routines, really, I guess.
There's the key word, routine. Beautiful. That's what we'll take from you is try and set up routines, because it's much easier when you're in a routine. You know, it's not hard work. Routines aren't hard work. Hard work is establishing the routines and habits. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. All right, so Emma, with all your wisdom, now that you've been you've change the topic. What's some advice that you would give?
I just touched on the side. I actually get sick into your neck and not be able to get out of bed for 5 days, and then you've got no choice but to think about things. My problem was saying yes to work, so it wasn't even that I was saying yes to fun things and over committing myself. It was saying yes to different classes, different basically just saying yes to everything and then going, oh, too much, I can't do it all. My advice I just put on the side is, and this came after speaking with a business coach, was that the more you learn to say no, the more valuable your yeses become, and to think about why you're saying yes and if it fits into your long-term goal and part of the bigger picture. If it doesn't fit in and if it's just to earn an extra $50, then don't do it. So, because you're going to make more money in the long run, and you're going to be more secure and more stable by focusing on your one big picture than saying yes to all the little ones along the way.
Yeah, fantastic. And you see it all the time. You see it, all around you and with other people, that they're constantly compromising their long-term future for something in the now. And like I say, it's not necessarily short-term pleasures. It can be working for some cash today, rather than thinking about, well, how about I work on my business and my business plan? Yes, Ben?
Yeah. Just a quick one, Dave. Remember what we talked about last week?
Yep. Sorry?
Do you remember what we talked about last week about work?
Yes.
Yeah. Broadly related. I've got me 3 days. So I've now got Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So there's the proof. Do you know what I mean? I've managed to work things. I've not lost out. I've managed to squash things up, and I've now got Thursday, Friday.
That's brilliant.
So
that's brilliant. There's a bit of a backstory to that, which I won't go into. But yeah, basically Ben was trying to, he was sort of juggling and worried about, changing his schedule, but he's managed to do it. And I would say it was your confident delivery, Ben. You've obviously gone in there and said, this is what I want. So it's really said no to somebody, which is a perfect example, and put his bigger picture forward. So that's brilliant. Yeah. You're on your way, and you can see each time you're stepping up, Ben, and I've seen it, and this is really very exciting, because I've seen you from the first time I spoke to you to these steps that you're taking. Each time you're getting more and more confident, and it's going to happen. Your business is just going to keep growing, and you're going to see your whole life transform. And you're going to look back, and you're not going to look back with regret. A lot of people think, I'm going to look back, I should have done this years ago. You're going to look back and realize that this was the time that it took you to go through whatever, that's 10 years.
I'm aware. I know that for all that I'd love to be I'd love to be 10 years younger. Probably at 24, I probably wouldn't have been able to do any of these things. So actually, me at 24, although it seems nice to think I'd be 10 years further on, probably not, because at 24, maybe I wouldn't have been able to do these things,
Exactly. And the thing is, you could have been where you, at that stage, stayed in that place for another 10 years before you kind of thought, oh, I better make the shift. So there's always, you know what I mean, we can always live with regret or look to, the future of what possibly could have happened, etc. But the reality is that I can see you making this big shift, and it's great. It's all happening for you. So yeah, congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right. So I'll go to Jay now. Jay, what advice do you give your students who aren't sort of organised? How do you help them?
What I've been doing is just basically just follow that daily practice. The front page of the starter kit code, where you put your time.
The log.
Aside from the log, the very where the days are being shown, and then where you have to put
the schedule.
The schedule. That's it. I make sure that I see to it that they fill it in, and stick to that schedule. And I also tell them that that the dangers of procrastination. Yeah, and procrastination almost always would mean that it's never done. And also, on the other hand, I tell them the wonders of starting a small thing, just like that article about the 10-minute routine.
Yeah.
When you get something done initially for a short period of time, and that short period of time it increases without you being aware of that, and before you know it, you had spent more than what is required to practice. I give some actual examples from my own experience to them. I basically just talk to them in a casual manner, and just like sort of just like friends, not like in a teacher-student relationship.
Yeah, you're not standing over them and going, "You better do this."
Yeah. That's how I do it.
Cool, excellent. The thing there that really I thought was really good was the fact that you told them about procrastination and the fact that we do procrastinate, and to be very careful and very aware of your procrastination, because simply being aware of something often negates it. If you know that you've got a problem with something, it's like anything. The first step is admitting that this is a weakness for me, and once you do that, then you can take measures to try and get around it. So when I have students who would say to me that they procrastinate, then I would say, well, what leads up to that? What are the triggers? What's happening for you? Why are you procrastinating? I want you to write it down for me tomorrow and say, okay, 4 o'clock's your practice time. What was happening at 4 o'clock? What happened 5 minutes before 4 o'clock? What led you to actually put it off? Oh, well, my brother started teasing me, and then we got into a fight, and then I didn't feel in the mood, and blah blah blah. So okay, so these are the things that are getting in the way. So you really have to make sure you clear a path. Go to your room 10 minutes before, close the door, do not disturb, talk to your parents, whatever it needs to happen. Make sure that you set up for the practice at that time. And so just by looking at behaviors, and that's where if you read The Power of Habit book, it's a really good book, and he talks a lot about that, about having cues and triggers and certain circumstances that create habits. And if I give you an example, somebody who starts off eating a healthy breakfast every morning, suddenly one day they get a new job, and in that new job they've got to get up a bit early and get away a bit earlier, so they find that they're not getting up early because they're still tired, so they jump in the car, and rather than make their healthy breakfast, they go through the drive-through McDonald's and grab a McMuffin, and next thing they're getting the hash brown, and then they're getting the big breakfast and all the rest of it, and 2 years later they're 40 kilos overweight and wondering how they got there. And it was all through a break of routine where they were having their healthy breakfast to their new job. So by sort of looking at that and examining it and seeing the circumstances, because we are to a certain degree, and I'm not trying to shift blame here, but we are to a certain degree victims of our environment, and we need to be aware of that we can actually change a lot about our environment. You think about shopping, for instance. If you shop, they found already that people who shop for their groceries online buy less crap food. They buy more healthy food, because when you're in the supermarket, you're more impulsive in your buying. You go past the candies and the sweets and the chips and whatever, and you throw them in your trolley. Whereas if you don't go and you actually sit down on the computer, order your groceries that way and have them home delivered, then you don't get that. And so then at 10 o'clock at night when you're tired, you don't go to the cupboard reaching for a packet of chips. They're not there because you never bought them in the first place. So these things, environment matters, because one of the things is another book called Willpower, and it's really well done as well. And they showed that we only have a limited amount of willpower. So willpower is almost like your body and your muscles. It works in the same way, in that if you go out and you do a lot of exercise in a day. By the end of the day, you're exhausted. You can only do so much and you're tired. That's it. You've got to rest. You've got to go to bed. It's the same with your willpower. You only have so much willpower. And if you burnt your willpower up throughout the day, then that's why people are more likely to snack on junk food at night time, because their willpower has run out. So what you want to try and do is set your life up so when your willpower runs down, you don't have the wrong temptation. So if someone says that they're not doing their practice, sometimes willpower has a lot to do with it. It's that they're leaving it till the last minute. They're practicing at 8 or 9 o'clock at night when they're tired and they just don't have what it takes to focus and do it. So that's something that you can discuss with people as well. Okay, so Michael Essery, what advice would you give to a student who's having trouble organising their schedule?
To a student, well, I guess, I mean, just from personal experience, I'm no authority on the subject. It's something I still struggle with, but I guess I had to sit down and figure out where I was wasting my time. And, you know, because if I'm spending some time, you know, even if it's totally a different part of the day, it's still time that I could be doing other things. So so I kind of figured out that it was, yeah, for me it was at the computer, because I'd sit down and I'd check my emails, and, you know, I'd go off and try and do too many things at once, and I'd just end up spending way too much time. So I ended up getting a schedule down, just like everyone has been saying, on a spreadsheet, and I've got a snapshot of that as my desktop picture, so that straight away, as soon as I open my computer, I can see exactly what time I've got to do stuff. And then I also have my phone set with alarms throughout the day. I've got about 5 or 6 alarms going off telling me to, you know, what time I have to get ready to go to work, what time I have to start flyers, what time I have to, you know, do everything. So, and I find the more specific I get, the better. Like, I've got, you know, what time I'm going to eat breakfast, what time I'm going to do all that stuff, because if I don't do it, then I'm late for the next thing. So, yeah, so I'm still mastering it myself, but that's what I've found has worked for me.
Fantastic. Excellent. Yeah, so again, you're scheduling it, you're putting your times in, and you're giving yourself reminders. So one of the things that I do is that I have a kind of a list of things that I need to do each day, and I start off and do them in order. And by running through that schedule each day, I can see where I'm at, and I will literally just dedicate for most of the things 10 minutes to each of them. I'll just have each one, I'll go 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes here, and I'll go down it. And once I've gone through the list, then I'll go back and do the things and spend more time on the things that I need to. But it's just having that list, make sure that I don't get sort of a week down the track, and this just happened to me before, where I haven't touched my accounts for a month, and they're falling way behind because I need to sort of bring them up to date. Now I have it that I check in every morning, and I actually just do 5 or 10 minutes on accounts, and sometimes it's just checking what my balance is, but I do something. And if you do something every day on the things that matter, then you will make progress on each of those, and you can, like I said, you can extend them if you want to, but by making sure that you schedule in what you do each day, you'll get it done. Okay, Shane, what advice would you give to someone?
Well, what I do is I write down all my goals, and if something's not contributing directly or indirectly to that goal, then I won't do it. And my schedule is different every day and different every week, so I can't. What I usually do is I make a schedule of alarms the night before, and when that alarm goes off, it's on my phone. Then that's it. Even if I didn't finish practicing that exercise, I have to put my instrument down and go out and deliver flyers or something. And that's what I do before I go to bed, is I set my schedule of alarms with all the things I have to do. And I say the same things to my students to get to write down their goals, why they want to learn guitar, and what they want to do, and non-guitar goals as well. And that's easier. That's an easier exercise for adults, because children don't really want to write down their goals. But just to write down everything that they want to do and where guitar fits in there. And usually guitar isn't number one. Sometimes it is, but usually it's a little further down the list, but it's towards the top of the list anyway. So that's the only way I manage to get anything done, I think, is to have a list and see, is what I'm doing contributing to that list?
Yep.
So,
Cool. I'll just go to Michael. Yes, Michael?
Sorry, I meant to say before, actually, I have a student who is a great example of this. He's in his 50s. And he actually, before he came in for lessons, he would get up a certain time, and he was really, really busy from the time he woke up to the time he went to bed. He now gets up 2 hours earlier at 4:30 or something to do his guitar practice before he starts his workday, and he does this every day. So he's completely changed his life around, sacrificing that time in the morning. I just think that's great that someone wants it that badly, at his level, and he's doing really well. He's probably one of the fastest progressing students I've had. So
fantastic, and he's doing it first thing in the morning, which means he's fresh and he's clear, and so his quality of learning would be exceptional. And even now I do my practice at night, and I know it's not the best time. I know that if I could do it in the morning, it would actually be a high quality of practice. But at the moment that's my schedule. But I will go back to doing, where I used to split it, do some in the morning and some in the evening, because that morning practice. Actually, I've already started it. I really just started about a week ago, where I'm doing a little bit of practice in the morning, and I'm talking 10 minutes. I'm just making sure that I slot it in, because I get this sort of thing where I get started in the morning and I've got a busy day. I know I've got a lot of things to get through, a lot of emails, a lot of things to sort of work through, but I'm now slotting in that 10 minutes in the morning, which I plan on expanding. But having the 10 minutes in that morning, it's really good quality learning. So great. And really what Shane's talking about there, which I think is really important, are the goals. It's the big vision, and when students are sort of caught up in should I practice today, I'm not in the mood, they've lost the vision, they've lost the dream. Why are you doing it? What's it about? It's not about the half an hour that you're going to do today or the 20 minutes you do today. It's about the big vision. So come back to that, keep reminding yourself, and I'll say to students, do whatever it takes to remind yourself. If you want to be, in a band, be a rock star, whatever it is that you want to do, surround yourself with that. Become very aware of it. Put some posters on your wall. It's so easy today. I wish I was a teenager today, because it's so easy. You can just click on YouTube and bang, and you've got any video you want of any band you want, and the inspiration just comes flying out. I'm just recently back into swimming again, and what I do is, if I don't feel like swimming on that day, which happens probably every second day, I think, especially as it gets a bit cooler, I go and watch an Olympic swim. I watch Phelps or someone win the Olympic, and it's amazing. You just shift. Your whole mind shifts. You go, wow, that was amazing, bang! And I've seen the race before, but now I'm pumped. Let's go. I'm off to the pool. So these are the kind of things that if students are losing that bigger vision, then we need to keep bringing them back to it and reminding them. Okay. One other thing that I'll add there is there's a thing that a guy's doing called Tiny Steps, and it's all about starting small. So if you find that there's students who are kind of procrastinating, not practicing, or having gaps, ask them just to do a couple of minutes on those days to start with. Start with something. Don't do nothing. If you can give me something, at least I know we're moving in the right direction. Of course, I'd like you to do more, but I'd rather you start small than start not at all. And that's often what happens. And I do that with Mia quite a lot, where she goes, I don't want to practice, I'm not, whatever. And I say, okay, let's just do a couple of minutes. And then she'll say, well, what about 1 minute? I say, all right, 1 minute. Let's do 1 minute. And of course, 1 minute extends to 10, 15 minutes. But I always just start off with, whatever I can her to do to get her there, and then we sort of extend it out from there. So try that with your students as well, just getting them to start small if nothing else. Okay, so the last thing, the next thing we had there was talking about marketing and sales. We have been through that in a lot of other discussions as well, but because I've got sales here 3 times, I will touch on it again. And what was, sorry, I'll go to the marketing because we did do the sales. Let me do the marketing. With the marketing, it's really about seeing the value of marketing. What inspires me with the marketing, no matter what kind of marketing I do, are the numbers. When I look at the numbers, it just continues to blow my mind as to how valuable marketing is. There really is nothing else that you can do for your financial future that's going to give you a very good, positive financial future than improve your marketing, because nothing else matters if the marketing is not happening. If your sales is not great, of course that affects it as well, but you can work on that, you can improve it, and you will naturally get better as that phone rings more and more. Then you're going to, not only are you going to get better at sales through the repetition of doing it, but you're going to get better because you're going to be more confident. You're going to go, well, it doesn't matter if that person doesn't enroll because the phone's going to ring again in 3 minutes anyway. So this is what starts to happen. You think of yourself in a pizza shop, Domino's, they're not sweating on the next phone call or the next pizza order. They know there's going to be another one right behind it. So this has affected marketing, and if you think about pizza shops like Domino's, they stand out in front of their shops wearing cardboard things and dressing up in clown suits and whatever they can do to get attention to sell their pizzas. This is what you need to think about as well. You need to think, okay, what can I do? What's the most valuable thing I can do for my business? And marketing is the most valuable. So if you're not getting enough business, if you're not getting the business is your biggest challenge, then the first place I would say is start with marketing. And also with marketing, it doesn't really take a lot of skill. You don't need to be a brilliant marketer for marketing to work. You just need to take action most of the time. We know doing the flyers doesn't require a lot of skill. Wearing a t-shirt that says learn guitar, ask me how, or whatever doesn't take a lot of skill. Putting some signs on your car doesn't take a lot of skill. So any of these things are just about taking action and making sure that each day that you're growing your brand, that sort of more and more people in your area get to know who you are and what you're doing. And the teachers who are doing that, you guys who are doing it, I'm sure you're going to go through ups and downs because there's seasonal things that go on. There are certain times that people are going to book in and not book in. But that's not really connected to your marketing. You think it is, but it's not. What happens is your marketing is always working. It's just that the response times vary. So you can go and do a whole bunch of flyers in December, which I really recommend. And you may, not see a lot of response for that during December itself, because people are out there buying the guitars to give thing, but they're grabbing the flyer and going, well, after I give little Johnny or Mary the guitar, then they're going to want a lesson, so I'll hang on to this flyer, and then come January, once they've opened the guitar, I'm going to book in the lessons. So, and I've done that in December. Oh, it's not that busy. It's quiet. I've done twice as many flyers as I normally do, and it's not that busy. And then January comes, and all the calls start coming in February especially. It all starts rolling in Australia anyway. So if you do the numbers, you will get very, very excited about marketing. You will jump out of your bed every morning and rain, hail, or shine, you'll be out there doing it. So let's just do a quick sum of how valuable marketing can be. I'll go to Michael Essery. Michael, what's the longest student you've had running now?
So he's been with me for just over 4 years.
Okay, 4 years. All right. So do you think that student has referred anybody else?
His sister was learning for a brief time. I think. Actually, no, sorry. She only did the 5-week intro.
Okay.
But apart from that, I don't think so.
Okay, that's right. Okay, so and once you understand referrals and how to get referrals and build your business, especially through your groups, then you'll start to see that every student that you've got enrolled should be referring someone about once a year. So yeah, sorry if anyone has to go. We'll be finishing up in about 10 minutes, but if you've got to go for it. So the thing is that one student for 4 years, if they're paying you even just at the group rate, we'll say that they're worth about $4,800, okay, $1,200 a year. So they're worth $5,000. So that one particular student is worth that much. If one student can be worth that much, so can many others. So you can really, you can see that there are students out there who are going to be worth thousands of dollars. Now, the other thing is that those students can also obviously refer other students, but there's more to it than that. That $5,000, if you were to reinvest that back into marketing, more marketing, what's an average? How much does it cost to get an average student? Who knows in marketing dollars? How much does it cost? Based on the numbers that we know. Anybody got any guesses? If you were to pay someone to do the flyers, or Ben?
If you're not paying for the flyers, then it depends how many flyers you're getting. But I think the most recent one was 10,000 for about 100. So you could probably call that about £10 a student if you're not counting how much I'm paying myself to do the flyers.
Okay. Yeah. So if we're looking at the actual paying someone, because we've got to be realistic in wages, even if it's your wages. So really what it works out to do, on average in these numbers, it works out to about $100 or about £60. So if one student has brought you in $5,000 and you reinvest that, there's another 50 students that you're going to get off the back of that student. And so 50 students, if they average out to be $2,000, which we know that they are, we're talking $100,000. So just from one student, that can turn into $100,000 or more. It can actually turn into millions of dollars if you're reinvesting the money you're getting from the marketing. That is how valuable marketing is. So if you ever underestimate the value of marketing, you're thinking too short term, you're thinking too small. You're not thinking about and that's where most people think. Most people have this kind of narrow short-term view, and again, I always come back to this, but it's evolution. We never had to think much past tomorrow or the day after, where our survival was based on whether we caught some food today. And we've only, in the last couple of thousand years, really had to think about anywhere beyond tomorrow or the day after. We didn't plan. As cave people, that didn't happen. So what we're looking at here is the more long-term value. So instead of getting caught into what most music teachers, most guitar teachers do, is get caught into that idea that I just paid $100 or $200 or whatever in marketing and got one student, and that one student dropped out after 5 weeks, so I really made no money. That's the wrong way to think about it. That particular student mightn't have worked out, but the next $100 might be your 4-year-long student who spends $5,000, and then you reinvest your $5,000, turns into $100,000, and on and on it goes. So knowing that, you're playing a lottery that will win. You will win the lottery. It's inevitable. And Emma knows this because she's seen it through my businesses. She's been there. She's been a part of it. She can see go from nothing to enrolling lots and lots and lots of students. And having someone who's really good at sales on the phone just makes it even more valuable, because you know that most of those students are going to be enrolled. So let's leave it there unless anybody's got any other questions. I think we've covered some good topics today. Does anyone else want to throw anything in?
Very minor question, David. It's just about the checklists. Did you see what me and Shane put on Facebook recently? It's just a little bit about some of the terms. They kind of make sense for me, but I'm not entirely sure if I'm making sure they're doing the right stuff. For example, for the chords, change at 60 beats per minute. I've been saying at the start, I've been saying it's just one chord and then 2, 3, 4. Second chord, 2, 3, 4. But then obviously if it was 4 chords, put in 1 chord every beat, then they've got much less time to change. Just things like that. And maybe if it just said rhythm exercise 1, change at 60 beats per minute or something. That would make it a lot clearer for them, because I've had a lot of students say, how fast am I supposed to be doing this, and things like that.
Okay, cool. Maybe if you send, can you
It's more
send
an
me
email thing, isn't it?
and then I can,
So-
I can.
No problem.
Yeah, no worries. Look, with the checklist too, just generally, most of the things they can be slightly interpreted in different ways, but don't worry too much. You don't need to be too pedantic. If you have
Yeah, it's all
a rough,
progressive anyway, so.
it is, yeah, and it's in the end the students will work out. It'll work out okay.
Yeah.
So, all right,
All sounds
we'll
good.
wrap it up there. Thank you for coming. And yeah, as always, I'll see you on Facebook and hopefully see you next week.
Thank you for hosting.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
See you later, guys. Oh, actually, Emma, if you're still there, are we still live?